Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United transfer news as Ruben Amorim faces an absolutely huge decision. There's clearly been a brief from the football club Manchester United this morning because we've got so many journalists talking about the striker situation. And I think what we can take from it before we delve into all those different headlines is that Manchester United are homing in on Ollie Watkins or Benjamin Sesko. Now, we have got a live chat. It is again a poll, it is again around 74% for Sesko over Watkins, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Manchester United are looking at that as well as they look to bring down the price on Watkins so that effectively the choice could be paying £25 million less for Watkins than what you'll pay for Sesko. And as you know, with Man United, money does talk. We have also got huge update on the goalkeeper situation, a concerning update on the goalkeeping situation. It's unbelievable that Manchester United could be settling with Onana for the season ahead. I mean, look, there's ambition and there's stagnation. And I think that's a shocking call if that's what they're looking to do, but it is in an article we'll talk about this morning. Also, we've got little bits around the midfield. Baleba and Hjulmand feature in that as well, and a few other bits to get into. But let's get straight into the big story this morning. And as I said, this has definitely come from the club because all these journalists are out in the US and they're all talking about the same thing. So we can tell when it's a club brief. Talking about that, Beth interviewed Dorgu overnight in the States, in Chicago. You can check that out on all our socials. It's on the YouTube channel as well. Very interesting interview from him. I think he's going to have a very good season. We've spoken about that before. But let's delve in. Obviously, get your comments in, but let's go through the news on our 10 a.m. show. So basically, we'll start off with The Athletic. They're saying that Manchester United's striker list now only has 2 names. And remember, we've got lines from the Manchester Evening News, the Daily Mail, The Athletic and ESPN all around the striker situation. I mean, is that not strange that they've all got the same, story basically in the space of a few hours, but slightly different slants on every story. Ollie Watkins and Benjamin Sesko are the 2 names on Manchester United's striker list, and they are the only 2 names on Man United strikers list, according to The Athletic. No decision has yet been made on which target to advance, but United are in contact with both. The Athletic goes on to say Manchester United will not be signing Nicholas Jackson due to Chelsea's demands. I mean, look, I'm very happy about that. Can I just say I'm very happy about that? But I would rather the line be Manchester United will not sign Nicholas Jackson because he's shit, not because he's too expensive. I mean, the fact that sort of makes out that we would sign him if he was cheap. We shouldn't be signing him anyway. But this is significant. It's Sesko or Watkins. Now, I will go through all the headlines and I want to get your comments as well, but I'm just going to drop this in there as well because it is the United Stand and it is all about opinion. Thanks to everyone who's tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and smash a like. Great to have you with us if you're watching live. My stance is, and I said this, was it yesterday morning? We have got, and I know it's not the 24th. As this is on me, it's not on the admins or anyone, it's on me. It's laziness. It's not the 24th. I know it's not the 24th. It's the 29th. So, but look, my stance on this is that if we play our cards right here, we get one of these 2 strikers, and they're the best 2 strikers available now. You can't get Delap, you can't get Gyökeres, you can't get Osman, you can't get Ekitike, you can't get João Pedro. So what's left in the market, these are the best 2. I can't think of a better striker available now. So the fact that we're going to land on one of these 2 is something. The question is, which one do you want to land on? And would you be disappointed if Newcastle got Sesko and we got Watkins? I think a lot of people would be. But what I will say is United need to make sure they get the best one. That's what they need to do. I know Watkins wants to come to Manchester United. I knew that last Thursday. We spoke about that. Sesko apparently favours Man United over Newcastle. I mean, we don't know whether that's true yet, but we feel it might be true. What we need to do is play one against the other. I mean, Arsenal did this very, very well with Gyökeres and Sesko. Sesko was part of that. So he won't want to miss out again. So we're in a position here that if we can get both players wanting a Manchester United move and we play our cards right, which is a big ask when you're talking about Man United in negotiations of transfers, we should be able to manipulate the situation that suits us here. We should be able to. There's a lot of things at play. I don't really know what Leipzig is about. I think they're about the money, but Villa will be about a replacement. So there are pros and cons to both. Which we'll come back to. Chris Wheeler in the Daily Mail says Manchester United believe they may be able to afford Sesko through player sales. I mean, that concerns me a little bit because we don't want to be waiting on this. And as I said last night, Newcastle are ready to go on this and it impacts Isak to Liverpool. So we've got to be wary of how quickly Newcastle could move. If we need to sell to buy, that might fit in with what Laurie Whitwell was saying yesterday morning about Man United being calm and realising that they can do stuff later in the window. This is pretty impactful stuff. I don't think Watkins and Sesko are the sort of deals that you can do at the end of the window. I think Sesko and Watkins are the sort of players that against Arsenal, against Fulham, which are two difficult starting games, they could change games from losses to draws. They could change games from draws to wins. I don't think these are the sort of players that you sit on the US tour and go, well, we'll have a look at this at the end of the window. You know, they'll buckle. No, we need to buckle up and actually get in the race. Manchester Evening News are saying that it's all over the place. I mean, it's a brief, but it is all over the place. So you've got the Athletic basically saying we're not in for Nicholas Jackson. It's Watkins or Sesko. They're the only two players we're looking at. And obviously that Man United feel that they can afford to get in the race for both. You've then got the Manchester Evening News saying Ollie Watkins would be open to joining Man United, which we already know. We already know that. But they're also saying that at this moment in time, Man United favour Ollie Watkins. Well, I don't know about that. I know on Thursday he was the number one option, but I think last Thursday you don't know what that detail is. If that was Thursday, Ollie Watkins would be the priority as we led on. As of now, I've not heard anything further than what we got told on Thursday, but I don't know what that brief is. I don't think Man United have dropped interest in Watkins at all. I still think he's there. And you don't know whether Villa are playing hardball, expecting to get what they want from Man United. There are so many permutations with this. As I say, you've got to use it to your advantage, because what if Aston Villa know they're going to sell Watkins to Man United, but they've looked at what Mbeumo and Brentford did and they've gone, we'll get 60. And then suddenly Man United go, we're going for Sesko. And they say to Villa, we're going for Sesko unless you drop that price. And if you don't, we'll go for Sesko. And Villa do need to sell Watkins and they go, shit, you can have him for cheap. So, which is exactly what Chris Wheeler is saying, because he's saying in the Mail that although Villa maintain that Watkins is not for sale, United believe a bid of around 45 may be enough to persuade them to sell the England striker. Well, look, we'll take a break there and we'll come into the chat. If it's Ollie Watkins at 45 million and it's Benjamin Sesko at 69 million, that is a difference of nearly 25 million pounds. And we have got people like Obi coming through. And I do believe that Watkins will give us 3 years at the top. And then an Obi, we set at 20 then. So that's when it becomes, I said this, I really like Ollie Watkins. I always have. I won't have anybody saying he's rubbish or anything like that. His goals and assists in the last 2 seasons in the Premier League defy criticism. If people think that's crap, I'll have that for Man United every week. But a difference of 25 million pounds, that does start making me think, well, you've got money there for a midfielder, you've got money there for a goalkeeper, which we're going to talk about in a minute, which is really concerning me. So look, it depends on what we can do. Ben Jacobs has just dropped a tweet as well. There's a lot for me to get through this morning, so yeah, please do by all means let me know if anything drops, because we do have a structure, but it is busy around United. Matt Law has just said as well, sources close to negotiations over Sesko currently rate Newcastle as his most likely destination. So this is what I mean. It's all over the place. I was laughing my head off, actually. I don't know the connotations of what this is all about, but that's very misleading. We'll come back to that in a minute about Hjulmand. God, it's all going off this morning. So this was a tweet I read today, and it was from Scotty Tridge on X, basically saying, YouTube in the know account. I've seen the plans for what United want to do next. I'm very happy with those plans. I can't tell you those plans yet to not damage the club, but let me tell you, people are going to be really happy, I think. A valuable update. And I think that, I don't know who that YouTube ITK is. I was just laughing about it because I'm like, this is the thing about Man United. People can make up nonsense to, further their own needs, etc. If we get information, I'll tell you what it is. I don't see the point in not saying it. It's pointless. But my point is, whoever's sat there going, I've seen what the plans are, and when they happen, they're going to be really exciting, but I can't tell you what they are out of protection for the club, but they look really exciting. What's a crock of shit? If you know that United are going after Baleba, you would say they're going after Baleba. If you knew we were going after Sesko, you would say we're going after Sesko. What I do, and I think what you appreciate and do as well, is we react to what the story is most of the time, and occasionally we'll get little bits. But my point is that story coming out from Matt Law, who did link us to Nicholas Jackson, to be fair, and he was wrong, is compelling. It is compelling because I think that, he's saying that sources close to negotiations for Sesko currently rate Newcastle as his most likely destination. Ben Jacobs' update is on Garnacho and Sancho. So it's not really... I don't know why people are talking about Ben Jacobs' update when we're talking about the striker situation, because he's not actually talking about the striker situation, and that's on our list for later. So let's go back to what we're actually talking about. Thank you. So yeah, I think this update from Matt Law is quite interesting because it says sources close to negotiations over Sesko currently rate Newcastle as his most likely destination. And I think what I do, and I think what most of you do as well, is that you assess the situation on almost an hourly basis based on updates. So what you've got here is Man United liking Sesko, liking Watkins, but I know as well as you do, in an hour's time, we might have an update from Ornstein saying he's going to sign for Newcastle. And in which case we're on Watkins, aren't we? I know what I think United should do, and I think in the long run, Sesko is the better financial option if he's successful. If he flops, it's a huge flop. And it's about risk and reward. And I think in football, you take the risk. You take the risk. I think Watkins, I can understand it because it's cheaper. He's Premier League proven. But there is a risk attached to the fact that he's 30 and it could be deemed as quite short-termism. We're meant to be building a project. So realistically, I think we should be going for Sesko, but we could lose out. And this is what I mean. People can get really excited and they can start talking about how Manchester United are going to do amazing things and you're going to be really excited. And maybe we are. Maybe we are going to get Sesko. Maybe we are going to get a goalkeeper, and maybe we are going to get a midfielder. And maybe these people who are saying, I've seen the plans and I can't tell you the plans, but they're exciting plans. Well, I'm not jumping on that. We've had 10 years of lies from the Glazers. I'm not going to jump on your bloody plans that you won't tell me what they are. That's like climbing into a tiger's cage, isn't it? And everyone's saying it's a great idea. I'm not going to do it. What about this? What about the flip side of the coin? We don't get Sesko. We don't get Watkins until the end of the window. We don't get a goalkeeper and we don't get a midfielder, and we start the season shit and it's a crap transfer window. It's a 50-50 thing, isn't it? We don't know which way it's going to go, and that's the honest answer. Do you worry about that Matt Law update, Mark? I think realistically, I don't know what's going to happen with the striker situation. I don't know whether we're going to get Sesko. I don't know whether we're going to get Watkins. What we do know is it's one of the two at the moment, and we're Manchester United, and we should be in a position at this stage of July, 2.5 weeks away from the start of the season. 2.5 weeks away from the start of the season, by the way. 2.5 weeks. We should be in a situation where we have a striker. So to be sat here 2.5 weeks out from Arsenal going, it's going to be one of these two. Honestly, I think that's really late in my opinion. So I wouldn't say I'm sat here excited. I'm sat here going, well, I like both options, but how long? How long do we take on these deals? When do we get moving on these deals? That's what I would say. Let me carry on anyway, because there is some comments coming in. I just want to mix it up with news and with some of your opinions as well, because we have got some coming in. Would you, Sesko will need time to adapt to the Premier League, but United fans won't allow that to happen. But with Watkins, he won't need time to adapt, says Jay Fifth. Thanks for your super chat, Jay. I think that's a fair point. Dave the Brave says, I've got a big update on the goalkeeper, by the way. Don't let me forget. I mean, these shows at the moment, they're exhausting. There's so much to get into, which is better than talking about Bruno and whether we should have sold him. I think we can all agree with that. It's sad that Dave the Brave says it's sad that only 28% of us are right. I presume that's the 28% that want Watkins. Mikhail says, would you rather take Watkins and a keeper or Sesko? Watkins and a keeper. Definitely, Mikhail. We're going to talk about that. Has Ben Jacobs actually got anything right this window? Just curious. I think he's had a very good window, Dave. I think he's had a very good window, actually, if you analyse it. Did you see Scotsman at Severn Valley Railway? Says Billy. No. Dorian Dave, if you like trains, though, get into it. Dorian Davies, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining and putting your badge in. Really appreciate your support. Morning on the 29th of July, Mark. Glazers out, says Tom. Ram says, hi, Mark. If you were Wilcox, which one of the two are you going for now that we know the numbers and terms and why? Well, we don't know the numbers and the terms, but I would imagine, based on what we've been told, that Sesko is the player you go for, because Man United consistently under INEOS have put it out there that they don't want to buy players over the age of 26. And we haven't actually bought a player over the age of 26, have we? We haven't. So they said when they came in, they don't want players over 26. They've said it 2 or 3 times. And we haven't bought a player over 26. So I would presume Sesko. I just watched Sesko highlights and I'm convinced, Maurice says. Morning, Mark. United's big problem is they still don't respect other clubs in the market. You don't insult Villa by offering a low loan for Martinez if you want a good price for Watkins and Garnacho. I don't understand why we did that loan deal offer. Max Dowman should join Obi in heaven at United, says Rajat. I mean, I think this Dowman stuff, I mean, he's a good player, but God, I just keep we've known about him for a year. I don't want to talk about it. Some fans say skip a striker for a goalkeeper and a midfielder, but we shouldn't settle, says John. We need all three and we can't let INEOS or the Glazers off the hook that easy. I agree, John. I totally agree. Are we going to be a club that stop investing in wonder kids just because we've been stung once or twice before? Come on, guys. It's got to be Sesko, says Lang. Morning, Mark. Great news. Sesko is coming, says Tony. Don't know who's told Tony that, but that's not the news. I keep changing my mind. Experience versus raw talent, says JR. And welcome to Members Club, John Asher. I don't think there's anything wrong with changing your mind on it, by the way. I really, really don't. I think that there are pros and cons to both. And ultimately, I don't want to lose out to Newcastle. So I would say that I want Sesko, because I think it ruins Newcastle and their chances of fifth. And also, I think it's an exciting one. But if we got Watkins, I wouldn't be unhappy, apart from the fact that Sesko would be playing for Newcastle, who I do think we've got an outside chance of stopping from finishing fifth. So, in my opinion, I think that's a logical thing to do. Let me just go through some more of this. 45 million was what Chris Wheeler said that Man United are hopeful that they can get Ollie Watkins for. This was the quote from Fabrizio. My understanding is that Newcastle already spoke to the agents of the player of Sesko and they've presented the project. They are prepared to pay whatever it takes to get Sesko, which is obviously something we're not going to do. But Man United are in the race. They made contact on recent days after discussing Sesko internally. Now they're working on player side to present their project and to understand if they can financially make it happen. I mean, this is going to be the problem, because Newcastle can just go, we really want you. Here's the money. We're not messing around. We're not going, let's see if we can beg, steal and borrow to find the money. We've got the money. We're in the Champions League. We want you. Come and play for us as our main guy. That could be quite compelling compared to, we like you, but we've got to move things around a little bit to get you. And we don't have Champions League football. We're sort of playing on the name. It might work. It worked with Mbumo. Newcastle wanted him, and it might work on Sesko, but obviously it might not always work. So I hope it does. I hope it does. The club are effectively ruling. That's about the goalkeeper. I want to talk about that in a moment. Manchester United are confident Benjamin Sesko would pick them over Newcastle. That comes in from Rob Dawson. So look, effectively, if you're tuning in a little bit late or you want a summary on what we've been speaking about, there's clearly been a brief out of Manchester United Football Club overnight, because all of the journalists over there are basically talking this story. I think what we can do is cut through all the crap, summarise the lot and bullet point it. It's Sesko or Watkins for Man United as a striker, which is certainly better than where we were a week ago when Nicholas Jackson was still in the equation. The price is Sesko's around 70 and Watkins is somewhere between 50 and 60. Watkins is open to coming to Man United. Sesko, it's a little bit more unclear. Newcastle are ready to offer whatever Leipzig want, and they want him now. And that's basically where we're at. And ultimately, I'd say the ball is in United's court, because if Sesko goes to Newcastle, it means we haven't produced the goods, isn't it? I would be much more comfortable if we had the financial power to just offer what Newcastle are offering. But if we don't, that might be a reason that we miss out. Hopefully, we're going to stay in this race. As I said last night, I think the longer this goes on, the more chance we've got, because if Newcastle are ready to go, and it sounds like they are, and they've done the personal terms and they've got the money, and Sesko says, yeah, let's do it, the deal gets done. The longer it doesn't get done, feels to me like there might be a bit of waiting on Manchester United. And maybe that is why Matt Law in the Telegraph is just put it out there that at the moment, the indication is that Newcastle are closer to a deal. I think that was the words, wasn't it? Because, well, they are. They're going to be closer to a deal because they've got the money to do it. Let me just have a quick look here. That's about Sancho. There's another quote here from Laurie Whitwell. He says, I still think the negotiations, or at least the conversations around what centre forwards are going on, we've touched on others that could be in the reckoning. Ollie Watkins, he's got the Premier League experience. That's just waffle, to be honest. There's nothing there. It's just an opinion. We're not looking for opinion. We're looking for thing. What's this? Amorim is guiding his players slowly through training drills in Chicago for pre-season. After taking over at United, he emphasised a gradual approach, preferring walking and jogging over long videos for better concentration. This method used in Chicago focused on careful tactical discussions before increasing intensity in final sessions. It proved effective. Okay, well, the proof will be in the pudding with that, won't it? Without being harsh. Sources close to negotiations over Sesko currently rate Newcastle as his most likely destination. You know what? I've played the game. I ain't worried about that. You know what? Reading that again, I'm genuinely not worried about that, because sources close to Sesko rate Newcastle as his most likely destination. That's out there on purpose. That's meant to make Man United go, if you don't move quickly, you're going to miss out. I ain't worried about that. I'm not worried about that at all. What I am worried about is the goalkeeper. I want to talk about that next, because I think the goalkeeper update has sort of been lost in what's going on with the striker, and that's not okay. What will happen to Xerxes, says Nigel? I feel like he's less polished version of Berbatov, but he's very technical, and I think he'll be a good player for us, says Nigel. We did speak about Xerxes last night, actually. What does happen to Xerxes? Really good player, very good, exciting player. I think he gets minutes, but does he start? And we don't have Europe, so at the end of next season, how many minutes has he got? And then is he sort of asking to go? And that's the thing, isn't it? We seem to have settled Xerxes down at the club, and now he's in for a battle to get a first team place. Mojo says, our financial situation means we should be going for Watkins plus a midfielder in around the same cost as Sesko. Thank you, Mojo. Well, I've got an update on the midfield, actually. Watkins' price should goes up if Sesko goes to Newcastle, says Sudif. Yes, this is a great point, actually. If Newcastle get Sesko done in the next 24 hours, that leaves us totally locked in on Watkins and gives Villa all of the power. We're stronger while there's two options, and that's why we need to move quick. Because if Newcastle get Sesko done quick, everybody knows it's Watkins. It's a great point, Sudaf. I remember Barada told us we were finished buying overpaid stars, so it makes more sense buying Sesko for the future, says FPL Shrimp. Forget the striker, centre midfield and goalkeeper are more important, says Keel. FPL Shrimp says, I've done that one. I prefer Watkins, says D1. Obi can learn more from Watkins than Sesko and Hjulmand, says Anand. some people do like the Watkins deal, let's be clear. Do you think Onana starts against Arsenal? Says Dave the Brave. We're coming on to that, and yes, I do. Smee Kings, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for getting your badge in. I really appreciate that. Watkins is what Sir Alex would do, tactical acquisition for the shorter term to underpin his longer term strategy. Watkins is the guy before the guy. Sesko could be the guy, says Ryan. And Sesko will need time to adapt. We've done that one. Okay, right. Let me talk to you about the goalkeeper situation, because this, for me, is quite an what I would call a worrying update. Where is it? So, coming in from The Athletic, the club, Manchester United, are effectively ruling out a move for Emi Martinez. They've been told he can only leave on a permanent deal, and the cost is not something United will entertain. United have looked at goalkeepers, but there is no sign Onana will go, so that parks an arrival in that position unless Bayinda leaves. So effectively, Man United are gridlocked on the goalkeeper. Onana won't go, Bayinda won't go, and United won't bring a goalkeeper in, is what we're basically seeing there. And that is obviously massively concerning, because, you know, I have to just do this. I think it's really important. When things are exciting and you get here we go for Mbeumo, or you get Man United are in for Sesko or Watkins, ultimately acquisitions and stories about players coming to Manchester United are always going to get your enthusiasm running. It gets mine running as well. But sometimes you also have to look at the facts. Manchester United's transfer window, regardless of whether you should, and I would advise you not to compare our transfer window to Liverpool or Arsenal or Chelsea for that. I mean, Chelsea are about to spend £40 million on a 19-year-old from Ajax called Hato. I mean, what a luxury. What a luxury that is. You've already bought a load of first teamers. You can now go and spend 40 million euros, on a 19-year-old centre-back with potential. So, yeah, we shouldn't be comparing it. Well, maybe we should be comparing it, but you're depressing yourself. The reality is, Man United came into this summer transfer window, high priority striker, goalkeeper. We've got neither, and it's nearly August. Midfield has been neglected completely. Also, we've got the situation with Mbeumo that took nearly 8 weeks. We paid £65 million, and he's not actually fit for pre-season because of it. Cunha came in, which was a positive, and came in quite early. We've sold nobody. Marcus Rashford's gone on a loan. So I think that this transfer window, as we were talking about yesterday, if you were marking it out of 10, some would give it a 4, some might give it a 5, but it's certainly not a 7 or an 8, which is what you would want at this stage of the window. So, yeah, it's exciting that we're in for Watkins or Sesko, but nobody can say with any confidence what we'll end up paying and who we will end up getting. It might not go well, it might go well. But we don't have the goalkeeper. So as much as we might get excited about, oh, it could be Sesko, the latest brief around the goalkeeper is Onana's the goalkeeper, and that is completely and utterly unacceptable, in my opinion. It is unacceptable for a club of United's position, where we finished 15th and we're not in Europe, to be going, well, Onana won't go, so we're not going to buy a goalkeeper. Who are you? You know, I was down Old Trafford last week with Seb. I saw statues. I saw an amazing stadium. I saw, statements of, past glory and what Manchester United's meant to be about. And are we really sitting here in late July going, well, we can't buy a goalkeeper because Onana won't go? I mean, grow a pair. Grow a pair and actually do what any top football club would do, and that is replace a weakness. Regardless of cost, replace the weakness. And the thing about the goalkeeper is, look, I don't know. Maybe Onana won't be our goalkeeper next season. Maybe he will. But nobody can deny he's injured, and we play Arsenal in 2.5 weeks. He is going to play that game if he's fit. And that, to me, is a shocking start to a season against one of the best teams in the world. Walking into that it shows a clear and defined lack of ambition. And people can talk about, I've seen the plans. Well, I've seen the plans as well. I've seen the plans, and I can't tell you what the plans are, but they're really exciting plans. I've seen the plans, and I can tell you what they are. Onana's still the number one, and Onana's playing in goal for Manchester United. That's the plans, mate. That's not exciting. That's really, really worrying. So we can all stir the pot of positivity about speculation, but the reality is, I think it's disgusting that we're going into this season with that goalkeeper in goal. And also, can I just say, it's not just about Onana. Our goalkeepers are not very good. Biyinda's not that good. Onana's not that good. We haven't even brought in somebody to challenge Onana. Even if you want to replace Onana, and I do, where's the guy to replace? Where's the guy to actually challenge him? You're telling me we're going into next season with Biyinda and Onana? I mean, it's disgusting. And what are we meant to do? Are we meant to go, oh, goalkeepers aren't that important? Of course they're important. So look, it's disappointing. As I said, the update from The Athletic is that the club are effectively saying that United have looked at goalkeepers, but there's no sign Onana will go. So that parks the chance of United signing a goalkeeper in that position unless Biyinda goes. Well, if Biyinda goes, we're buying a backup goalkeeper, aren't we, as well? I think, look, Lemens is there. I mean, this is just the harsh reality of the goalkeeper situation and how desperate it clearly is when you analyse it. We asked Villa to loan Emi Martinez. I find that incredible. What are we going to do? Are we going to ring up Brighton and say, can we loan Baleba? Maybe we should ring up Leipzig and say, can we loan Sesko? Maybe that's what we're going to do. We talk to Sesko, we agree the personal terms. He wants to come to Man United, and then we ring up Leipzig and we go, yeah, the player wants to come to us. We're thinking a loan deal where you cover his wages. I mean, it's just incredible. How are we trying to fill a goalkeeper position by asking a team who are our rival and better than us to loan one of their best players? It's just madness. And then you look at Lemens, who could be a young goalkeeper with talent, who is available for what, 15 million quid? We can't even do that unless Biyinda leaves. So look, it's exciting about the striker situation, but I'm not going to lie, I'm very, very concerned about the goalkeeper situation. And it's not a great update at the moment, is it? And let's be clear, people can spin a positive around that update, but let's be clear, the season's about to start. We've done nothing. So even if we do something, you're bringing a goalkeeper into a situation where they don't know the situation. I can't believe we let the players choose at Man United, says John. Wow. Yeah, I agree. I don't know what that's all about. Keel says they're using United to get the Sesko price up. I hope not. Derek says, as Mark said, that Athletic article is not news. It's a British biased opinion with prices based on wishes. Same guys who told us we weren't in for Sesko. Hey, you know what, Derek? I don't normally, well, I sometimes do, but I can't cover it all. There's so much Manchester United news, and you're absolutely correct. It was The Athletic last week that said we're not in for Sesko because he's too expensive. And then 4 days later, we are in for Sesko. So it's a fair point. Who will score the most goals for United next season, Watkins or Sesko? I think that's the most important thing given the situation, says Ian. I think they both score goals if they're given service, and I think that's one of the biggest problems at United. What happened on the day we agreed Mbeumo? You said you couldn't talk about it without checking first. Suspense. I still can't do it. I'll ask again. It was basically a club that came in that wasn't Spurs in the last few days to try and get Mbeumo. Smitty, thanks for being a member for 59 months. Pranav, welcome to the United Stand Members Club. Really appreciate that, Pranav. I'm worried we're still 2 injuries away from a Europa League final 11. Oh, God. Oh, what a statement that is. We're 2 injuries away from a Europa League final 11. And Mbeumo and Cunha. Oof. Members special video comparison between the two, says Sherman. Are you doing it? Can't help but thinking Sesko's the next Zlatan when I watch his highlights, says Smee. And what will happen to I've done that one from Xerxes as well. Let me talk to you about the midfield, because there are a couple of updates to bring you around that as well. Look, first and foremost, I saw the Brighton, I think it's the CEO or the technical director. He was talking about Baleba and basically said, look, the way we operate, everyone's got a price, and we will always operate in the way that we get the best price for the club. That doesn't mean that's going to happen, but that's what we will do. I do know a couple of people that know a couple of people, and that sounds really bad, around like Baleba. And I think he would be open to coming to Manchester United, by the way. But I think, let's be clear about Baleba. And we have to be very clear about this. This is a YouTube influencer saying, go and buy Baleba. And it's the same YouTube influencer who said, get the pen, get the contract, give him a massive contract for Ollie. And it's the same one who, this is not a phone, by the way, who stood in a train station a couple of summers ago and goes, I'm hearing in the next 24 hours really good things about Qatar. So it's Rio Ferdinand, of course. The whole Baleba story is because Rio Ferdinand has heard it from someone that Baleba's good, and he's now making out like he's the best director of football in the world. Everybody knows Baleba's good. You could tell me, let's sign Baleba. We were talking about Baleba last bloody November. I think it'd be really good for Man United. But the reality is, the only reason we're talking about Baleba is because Rio Ferdinand's done a video saying we should get Baleba. That's it. Man United aren't negotiating with Baleba. We're not looking at Baleba. So I'm going to do a video at 2 o'clock saying we should sign Adam Wharton from a train station with a contract saying sign that, whilst holding a phone talking about Qatar and saying let's sign Adam Wharton, because it's about as valuable as the Baleba story at the moment. I would be very, very happy with either of them, but we don't actually have anything logical around them at the moment. Price point, Baleba, 3 years left on his contract. I definitely think that there would be competition for him as well. I don't think Man United would get a clear run at him. So if I'm being fair and taking away all the speculation and all the bullshit about it's just somebody throwing his name out on a video, I think United would need to find in the region of 80 million quid for him. We're not doing that. And if you did do that, you'd be better off going to Palace and saying, look, Baleba's been 80 million. Would you take 65 for Wharton? Because that's it. And people have asked me to talk about it, but that last couple of minutes is the truth, isn't it? It's just a YouTube influencer saying, let's buy Baleba. There's nothing in it, and he's really expensive. And I don't see how that moves. Look, some people love that sort of stuff. I don't think in a real world, and I think we try and live in a real world on this community, I don't think that helps us. We are without a goalkeeper, without a striker, without any sales. We finished 15th. And I don't think at the end of July talking about Baleba does anything. We may as well talk about Rodrigo as well. Let's talk about signing one of the world's best centre-backs as well. We're not in that position. What we are in a position is that we've got about 5 weeks left of this window. And in the real world, we need to get players in. And that's not, talking about someone like that's just not going to help, is it? I did see a story that I will bring in, though. And look, I'm not a believer in this either. Even I'm dropping down to this level now. Let me talk to you about this one. So look, there's a bit of inaccuracy going around this report, but thankfully the United Stand did post it at about 7:30 this morning, so I can go to it and give you the actual. Manchester United have made a bid of £35 million for Sporting midfielder Morten Hjulmand, who is 26. But Sporting want at least €50 million for the Denmark international, who is also a target for Juventus. Now, some people are reporting that this came in from BBC Sport. It didn't come in from BBC Sport, because if it did come in from BBC Sport, that would be quite a significant level of credibility. It actually came in from Calcio Mercato in Italy and was mentioned on the BBC Sport transfer gossip page. So clarity, that's not the best source in the world. And I think Amorim would love Hjulmand, because obviously it's one of his Sporting players who knows his system really well. And I think if he adapted to the Premier League, he'd be a bloody sensation, to be honest with you. But there's two things I'd say about that report. One, Juventus want him, and it's an Italian report. So it will be very Juventus bias. And two, since when does Sporting want 50 million euros for a player that's got a 90 million pound or an 80 million euro release clause? So I don't really get that. As much as I would like it to be true, that would be half of what his actual value is. And I don't think Sporting are in a position where they need to sell. So, look, I would love that. And I think it's way more realistic than a Baleba at that price or anybody else. But yeah, I don't think that's going to pan out for Manchester United in the way that we would like it to. And I think as well, I mean, what's your confidence around United getting a goalkeeper, a striker and a midfielder? I think they're absolutely essential with regards to where we are at the moment. But what I will say is, when you look at the time that's left, and I'm so tired of doing this every year, you start to look at the time left in the window. Sometimes you even look at the window and you go, we need to sell 6 players and buy 6 players. That's 3 months in a window. That's about 14 weeks. So we can time this that we've got to do a deal every 2 weeks. And we go straight away, we're not going to do that. And it was very obvious this year that we needed to sell 6 and sign 6. And then we needed to be doing deals every 2 or 3 weeks. And we haven't done it. And what we've basically got now is we've got 31 days in August. We've got 2 days left in July. I think it closes on September the 1st. So 32. You've got about 35 days left of this transfer window, which is bang on 5 weeks. 5 weeks to do 3 big deals in and about 4 or 5 out. There's going to be something sacrificed there. We're not doing that volume of transfers in 5 weeks, not with this negotiation team. So do I think we're going to get a goalkeeper, a striker and a midfielder? No, I don't. I really don't. And if we do, I dread to think what they'll be. Because they're going to be desperation. You know, you might get Ndidi, you might get. I just don't see it. I think we have, for whatever reason, I think we have strategically misunderstood this transfer window. And the scary thing is that this was actually a transfer window to make a big difference. There is no Euros. There is no World Cup, which is always an excuse and will be next year. The season ends next year and you're in the World Cup until the middle of July, and then it's pre-season. And, you know, we can't speak to the player, you know, on holiday, age, this, that, and the other. This was a really good opportunity, and that is I'm still here, aren't I? Yeah, you won't see Liverpool be able to do that again. Because the World Cup. And I think that also, I think there was a lot of players available. I think there was a lot of goalkeepers available. There was a lot. I mean, look at the goalkeeping market. There's so many goalkeepers. I wouldn't take Ramsdale, but Ramsdale's available. Chevalier is going to PSG. Costa is at Porto. Martinez wants to leave Villa. That's 4 goalkeepers straight away that are available. Lemens. There's loads of goalkeepers available. There's bloody loads of strikers available. There's loads of midfielders available. So I just think that we've strategically got this window wrong. And it's probably underpinned by a lack of money, if we're being completely honest. But there we go. I don't know why I popped out then. Not in that sense of the word. Yeah, it's not Tuesday the 24th. It's because I don't stream in the morning from my normal place at the moment, so I just don't get organised. But at the end of the day, you know, it doesn't matter where we are, as long as we got the champers flowing, and you know, we can talk about transfers that aren't going to happen. Well, you know, it's the same show. Houdini Bridge, says Ryan. What happens if Sancho and Garnacho stay next season, says Ryan. Sorry, I'm going to come back to that, Ryan. Sorry, but is there a chance that we can still get Martinez? Will Hjulmand be sold if a new striker comes in? And what's the chance of a striker and a goalkeeper? I think we've covered all of that. At this time, no chance of Martinez because we only want a loan. Rasmus, I think, depends on who the striker is. And what's the chance of a striker and a goalkeeper? Well, I hope it's going to happen, but it's not a great update around the goalkeeper that we're unable to get one. Striker, centre midfield and goalkeeper are all major weaknesses. Core is rotten, says Ryan. And the great thing about what Ryan's saying there is that's the spine. Goalkeeper, midfielder, striker. How are we not able to find a goalkeeper? Napoli has a great in Mere, but still bought Milinkovic-Savic. It can't be that hard replacing Bayinda, says Slazy. INEOS is so painfully basic at times, says JK. Last summer they worked on the defence. This summer it's the attack. Next summer it will be the midfield and the goalkeeper. That was from JK. You can neither confirm nor deny, but I read it was Chelsea, says Spence. No, it was a London club though. Play Heaton, says Keel. And Mark, can you say happy 40th birthday to John? He listens to all your shows. I feel like you're part of the family. We hear your voice that often, says Gemma. Happy birthday to John. Hope you have a fantastic day, you and the family. Thank you very much, Gemma Page there. I can't believe what we let the players choose at Man United. Yeah, there is another update I need to bring you here. Sorry, I was a little bit distracted because there is another update here. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. Put your back into it. Oh, fantastic show last night on the 8 o'clock show. We had 26,000 watching last night. Unbelievable. Then again, we've got 18,400 this morning. What a community. Thank you everyone who's tuning in. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Bit of an update from Italy. Everton, West Ham and Forest are all battling it out for Douglas Luiz. I tell you what, on the quiet, I think Forest, I want people to get in the comments and come back at 8 o'clock, bit of a homework. Teams that had a better window than Man United. I really want to discuss this on the 8 o'clock show at some point if we get time. And I still need to talk about the wing backs. But I think Forest have had a better window than United. Cunha and Mbeumo are brilliant, but they bought a centre-back from Botafogo that looks really good. They bought a striker from Botafogo that looks really good, both Brazilian. And then Doi is going to replace Elanga, and I think he's really good. Contextually, they've brought 3 players in, and they're looking to do more business. So I think for a time, you could look at it and go, well, it's just Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool and Arsenal. They're miles ahead of us. And, what do you expect? That's what some people say. But I think other clubs are now starting to do better business than us that are around us, and that's concerning. Because I think for a long time, you could go, well, Cunha and Mbeumo, what have Villa done? What have Spurs done? What have Forest done? What have Brighton done? But it is starting to happen that other clubs are doing more and more business now. What was this Ben Jacobs update that people were talking about? Look, I know Dortmund and Sancho have been linked. Ben Jacobs. Dortmund are currently debating whether to make an approach for Sancho. Man United are prepared to sell for 17 million, which is lower than Chelsea's obligation to buy. I'll never understand why people are going to pay money for Sancho. I'll never understand that. He's got 1 year left on his contract and he earns 300 grand a week. Surely the logical thing is that he's going to run his contract down. I don't know. I'll never understand why we're getting a fee and why he wouldn't run his contract down. I don't understand what that's all about at all. But there we go on that. That's just an opinion piece. Why don't you value opinion pieces from Man United journalists? Because their opinions don't matter to me, because that's not what they are. They're journalists. Your opinions matter to me because you're fans. Journalists, I don't think they're even fans, and therefore I don't think their opinions really matter. The only thing I'm interested from them is that they are clients of the club, most of them, and when they get briefs, that's interesting. But I'm not interested in their opinions. We can get our own opinions. My opinion on the striker is that nobody knows. I know because of what we were told last Thursday that Watkins is a priority. Is he the priority, or have we pivoted to Sesko? I think there's enough noise to believe that we have, but I do think it's going to come down to finances. The scary thing is, if I'm being completely honest, I think United, when they're looking at the striker situation, are looking at the finances. And I think that happens too often. I think we're looking at the financial situation and going, can we afford it? And that shouldn't be the question. The question should be, what's best for us? If Sesko's the better option, you find the money. If Watkins is the better option, you do the deal. The danger is we pull out of the Sesko deal because of finances. Newcastle get it done really quickly, and then Villa have got us by the balls for Watkins. We need to play this situation to our advantage. We need to come out of this deal with a good deal. Now, whether that's you go to Villa and say, we're going for Sesko unless you do a deal for 45, and you do it, or you get Sesko. But we can't, we could end up in a really bad situation here. If we don't do Sesko deal and he goes to Newcastle, that leaves us very exposed with Watkins, and it could take weeks. And we are talking about players here that can make a difference against Arsenal and Fulham and have had a pre-season. So I don't want to hear negotiations could go on for weeks. This could be, I mean, look, Arsenal's very difficult, obviously, but Fulham, if you've got Sesko or Watkins, that could be a really tough game where you win it. 3 points. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. Absolute legends. I'm going to be on Terry's channel at 11 doing Straight Facts, and we're back at 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock tonight. Can't wait. Do your homework on teams that have had a better window than United, definitely. And I will try and get talking about wing backs. We've got a really good conversation about that. But as you know, on the 8 o'clock show, you lot come up with good stuff. Take care. Have a fantastic day. Make sure you subscribe. I'll speak to you all later.